Comparison is the thief of joy. That said, Paul also names a second way we compare ourselves, which is comparison that leads us to see ourselves as better than others, whether that's a conscious, intentional thing or not. He writes, no matter how significant you are, it is only because of what you are a part of. An enormous eye or a gigantic hand wouldn't be a body, but a monster. What we have is one body with many parts, each its proper size and in its proper place. No part is important on its own. Can you imagine eye telling hand, get lost, I don't need you? Or head telling foot, you're fired, your job has been phased out. This is Paul writing, but this is something that Jesus, a kind of similar warning that Jesus offers. There's a parable where he talks about a tax collector and a Pharisee who both go to the temple to pray. And the tax collector, who was someone known in Jesus' time as colluding with the Roman authorities and making money off of the common people, sometimes more than was fair, the tax collector, he stands back and he beats his chest and he cries out to God to have mercy on him. Meanwhile, the Pharisee, who's this educated guy, educated in religion, who strives to learn the standards of God's instruction over the years, who tries hard to be a good person, he stands by himself and he prays to God, thanking God that he's not like other people, that God hasn't made him to be like other people that he sees, including that tax collector over there. And Jesus warns the disciples that it was the tax collector who went home justified that day in God's sight. Comparison is the thief of joy for the Pharisee, too, who misses out on the gifts of the people he looks down on. And of course, people aren't so different today. We still compare ourselves in one way or the other, maybe in one direction more than the other, or maybe both simultaneously. Jesus and Paul, and this is part of why this passage is so powerful, they lift up another vision for how community can work. Not as a hierarchy with some greater and some lesser, not as a competition for a limited set of resources, not as an arena for proving one's worth or other people's unworth, not as a race to the professional or the social or the spiritual top, but instead a group of people functioning interdependently, relying on one another, building one another up like cells of one body, recognizing that, as Paul emphasizes, their significance is not from the part that they play, but from the greater whole that they are part of. That's the church. It's not perfect, but God gives us to one another as a community where we each belong, where we each are part of the whole.